getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 6 of the season, coming to you today from Phillip Island. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams as usual, is Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, it doesn't feel like it, but we're already getting to the halfway mark of Season 1 of 2026 here on iRacing. It has been a wild ride. We've seen some great racing here in the Vs, but to round off the first half of the season, we head off to a racetrack that is primarily known for motorcycles, also holds some sports car racing. You don't usually see Formula cars run here, but Phillip Island can put on some stunners.
Yeah, absolutely. Phillip Island's probably one of my favorite racetracks on the service. This place races really well. It's fun to drive. It's smooth and flowy kind of till the end, and then there's a little bit of technical stuff to deal with. It's a pretty racetrack too. I like the blue painted curbs and the kind of wide open area. It's just a nice place, and I think there's probably some pretty good places to crash the cars at the end too. So we should have a pretty good race today, I think, Ron.
Yeah, we did get a little bit of a forewarning as to what we would be expecting a little bit later on once the checkered flag falls here in this race. And I gotta tell you, folks, I think we're in for a good one, both in terms of the racing out there and in terms of the crushing that we'll be getting a little bit later on. We follow Jim Brewster, the sponsor of today's broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Thank you, Jim, for all the hard work, and we'll have to see what our Masters man will do out there on the racetrack. Currently in qualifying, about to get some of the first lap times on the board. Saw Mr. Stevie Ray briefly jump up to the pole with the first time, but Darmaid Toomey looks like he's going to jump into a usual spot. Nice to see the return of Tortolo off the back of some very fantastic runs to get this season up and rolling. He's going to look to try and end off the first half of the season the way that he has spent most of the first half of the season, usually up the front.
Yeah, up at the front again. So, you know, we're going to see probably a little bit of the same kind of order of things maybe today. We have been here a few times. The drivers out here know this track really well, so there should be some pretty high speed, some good lap times, but that should also kind of shuffle out the wheat from the chaff as well. You're going to get those drivers that are usually up at the front, probably close up to the front again this time. That being said, this place races really well, so I wouldn't be surprised if that changes fairly quickly. As you can see here on board with Jim Brewster, the track's fairly wide around here. It definitely does promote a little bit of side-by-side racing and you know, getting up the inside of your competitor. And you can kind of do it almost everywhere around here. Not that it's necessarily the smartest thing to do everywhere around here, but you can get away with it. And if you can get away with it, we know people will push it. So I would imagine we're going to see a lot of side-by-side here. And you know, the draft being so powerful, the track being so wide, it might not matter so much that you're the fastest guy around here today. You're going to have to really make good decisions and keep your nose clean.
Yeah, and it's important to try and just keep it clean out there on the racetrack. It's been a little while, quite some time, in fact, that I did a broadcast of a race at Phillip Island. I think it was about, I'd say about 40 hours ago with the Porsche Club of America, who have been racing here for the past week and will be racing here in 1 week's time as well. But yeah, this track can bring out a little bit of chaos. It was my first ever broadcast here back in, I think it was August of 2023, way back in the day. It was a GT3 race, and that ended about as well as you could probably imagine. It was catastrophe early and not really the start that anybody had in mind for that one. The heavy braking zones and the real tight turns are going to be tricky. Turn 4 and turn 10, the hairpins on this racetrack, going to be a choke point. We'll just have to see how these racers are going to tackle throughout this race. I have a lot of 180-degree bends, turn number 2 being one of them, and that despite not being a hairpin. See, a hairpin is tight and slow. That turn is just a never-ending sweeper, but that is still going to be a very tricky turn as well. So lots of choke points for these racers. Only 12 turns around this circuit, but every single one of them packs a pretty hefty punch. And if you look at some of these turns the wrong way, much like the entire nation and the continent of Australia, there are a lot of things around here that will kill you even if you don't tell them the right time of day. Andy Middleton is your current provisional pole sitter at a 156.3. He's only about a half a tenth up in front of Darmaid Toomey, who's right in front of Guido Marzucchi. Andrew Love, your top qualifier in the Masters right now, and interesting to see Tortolo down in 9th. We'll see what he can get as his second time on the board, heading off to the mid-sector currently for him.
My mic was off there. Yep, Tor down in 9th place here. That little bit out of place. I think that would probably be rectified fairly shortly here. If everything goes well for him, he'd be able to get that lap in. And yeah, this place, I believe, was mostly used for motorcycle racing in the beginning. I think that's kind of what it was designed for. You can tell by some of the corner names around here. You have Doohan Corner, Stoner Corner, both being obviously legendary MotoGP racers. Truth be known, I actually took Mick Doohan and his family out on a snowmobile tour once for an entire day and didn't let him know who I was or his family and everything. And at the end of the day, his wife came up to me and said, hey, do you know who my husband is? And I was like, yeah, I sure do. I watch Speed Vision, which would have been the channel at the time in North America here. The only way we could watch racing, I would catch a little bit of it here and there. But pretty cool story that I got to hang out with Mick Doohan and his son, actually Jack Doohan, when he was just a little boy before he grew up there and became a very short-lived F1 driver. But I digress. This track being an old, I believe, motorcycle track, and you can kind of tell the way that the corners sweep and how fast it is and how wide it is. And I think that's why it probably provides such good racing in the four-wheeled machines.
Yeah, and in these Formula Vs, it is just going to be a game of momentum from the drop of the green through to the end. I remember you sharing that story. Nice to get the opportunity to meet Jack Doohan before he got murdered by Alpine. But from everything that I've heard, I feel like Alpine's murderous rampage may continue on, just with other teams getting engineering staff that may have been the reason why their car is getting delayed. But I'll just leave it at that. But still a little bit of time left here in qualifying, about 5.5 minutes on the board. Andy Middleton still on top. Andrew Love still on top of the Masters category. And Martin Visser is your current provisional pole sitter in Spec 2, down in 13th. Talking once again about the nature of this track and how sweeping it is. You can tell it's a bit of an old school venue this here at Phillip Island, and one big note of that, which we don't have to talk about here in these Formula Vs because we don't have pit stops, but in that PCA broadcast I was doing not too long ago, there are pit stops in that series, and the pit exit around here is horrifying because you either have to merge on the racetrack almost instantly, in which case you're probably going to get rear-ended at a high speed, or you're going to merge on the outside turn number 1 and run on asphalt that is so dusty I'm pretty sure it hasn't been driven on since about 1974.
Yeah, this place is definitely the pit lane. If I remember correctly, and it's been a little while since I've been here, the entrance is fairly easy. It's pretty much straight on, which is actually deceivingly hard sometimes to just go straight on. I actually like the pit lanes where there's a bit of a squiggle because they sort of slow you down before you get there, and you're down to speed kind of naturally. Whereas I believe this one's a pretty straight shot, and then yeah, it basically blends straight into T1, if I remember correctly. So as a competitor, you have to sort of be careful when someone's coming out of the pit, and obviously if you're in the pit, you have to be very cautious coming out of the pit. We shouldn't see too much of that today. You never know. We do get people, that will get a penalty or something and end up in the pit lane and then have to blend back out. But if you do, you're going to want to be real careful about that. And you're right, just to back up your claims there. I don't think they would build a track quite like this anymore. It's so fast and so flowy. You can pick up so much speed, and there's no, there's retaining walls out there, but there's enough grass in between with nothing that you could probably crash, slide across the whole track, and then into another section of the track and take out a car. And they don't, they just don't play that game anymore in the FIA with certain series and stuff. So, but amazing track nonetheless. I actually did look it up quickly before today too, and this place is busy. There's all kinds of clubs and club racing and events and all kinds of stuff going on at Phillip Island all the time.
And looking into the history as well of this venue, it opened all the way back in 1956, and there's only been pretty much just 3 major alterations. Turn 4, which is the Honda turn, used to be called Repco, and it used to be a bit more open, kind of similar in a sense to the old configuration of the horseshoes at Daytona, where the Daytona 24 is currently going on as we speak. But they changed that in 1988, and then they changed the pit entry here. It's a straighter shot than it once was, but it's still not ideal, with some major elevation change as you crest the hill. And after that change of the pit entry, I believe in 2002, they also changed the pit exit 2 years later in 2004. So this is the sort of racetrack where the designers knew what they were doing right off the bat. They cooked in the 50s, and it has remained a 5-star meal ever since.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool, honestly, that it's lasted that long. I did notice last night as well. Yeah, this place has been around for a long time, and B hasn't really undergone a whole lot of changes. Meaning, like you said, they got it right the first time around, which is always nice, But when you have that track that people have been driving for that long, and it's got some history and some storied history and so on as well. Obviously, with some of the corner names here as well. But just winding down. Qualifying now, a couple minutes left. Nobody really on the track anymore. We got maybe 1 or 2 drivers here still trying to plug in a lapper time. Here's Brian Hansen just coming across the line now, trying to improve on his time. But it looks like most drivers are pretty comfy with what they've put down here. And imagine, if you look up at the times there, they're all pretty nose to tail with each other. this place, like you said, in the run-up, there's so much draft and it's so wide around here. I'm not really sure qualifying is going to matter quite as much as at some of the other courses that it might, because you are going to be, playing for a lot out there once we do get together. And those times are pretty close together too, aren't they, Ron? Up at the front, the Andy Middletons and Darmid Toomeys are kind of pulled away a little bit, 2/10 or so ahead of everybody else. And then after that, it's pretty line astern. And Tortello down in 5th place too, so wasn't able to get that lap in that we're usually able to see him rip off there. But Andrew Love as well up into 4th place, so he'll be the first of our Masters drivers right up there in the S2 drivers. Then Alan DeGassis as well, and Jim Brewster, and Stevie Ray actually out in 10th. I didn't even notice the 911 of Stevie Ray, admin of the Ray Esports world, is in 10th, and he's joining us again for another race.
Yeah, and I was going to drag in Jim Brewster to have a quick little chat before we get this race up and rolling, but
Sure.
as I was about to bring him in, he left the chat, so I had to go back.
Oh, I talked right through it. My bad.
Pre-race announcements before we do that. No, it's all right. It's we're giving good color commentary before we get this race up and rolling, because this is sort of racetrack where you need a lot of pretext, you need a lot of context. There's a lot of things that you have to consider before you tackle this track, and there's a lot of other things that you have to think of as you're actively tackling it. So we're going to get into this race in just a couple of moments time. I want to thank all of you for being here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for this race. Really looking forward to it. I think we'll take a look at that starting grid in just a couple of moments time, and look at a grid that is a little bit shuffled up, at least compared to what we usually see. Andy Middleton will start from the pole. Darmid Toomey will join him on the front row. Guido Marzucchi, SMB Zone, will start in 3rd next to Andrew Love, your Masters pole sitter, in 4th. It's Tortello in a comparatively disappointing P5 in the NIX Vision number 90 machine, alongside Alan DeGassis, who has shown some pace here in the past. He'll look to try and repeat once more. Chris Montgomery will start in 7th alongside sponsor of today's broadcast, Jim Brewster, in P8. Brian Szynski will start this race in 9th, with Stevie Ray rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then right after that, we have series admin and Duldime racer Michelle Lynn in 11th place, Dan Trzynski in 12th place. In 13th, we have Kurt Nunez. In 14th, Jason Grider. 15th, we have Martin Visser. In 16th, we have Stefan Westcott. In 17th, Kevin Poulin. 18th, Justin Huffman. 19th, Brian Hansen. In 20th, we have Russell Telker. In 21st, Nick Tullo. 22nd, Brent Thompson. 23rd, Gary Kittle. 24th, we have Wayne Buttermore, and I believe we have one more driver in Gary Thompson in 25th. And that'll wrap up our grid.
And so there it is, a stacked field of racers here in this round of the championship. Looking forward to seeing how these drivers are going to tackle this 30-minute long race, set to get up and rolling in just a couple of moments' time. It's Andy Middleton starting from the pole. Darmid Toomey looking for back-to-back wins after his inaugural triumph here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors last time at Montreal. The green flag flies already. The drivers are on their way. That's a fantastic start from Middleton. Toomey slipping back in tow. Was worried that I was maybe going to see him get a penalty, but no, getting the slipstream, getting the run. It's going to be side-by-side racing as they fan out into turn number 1. Look at Guido right in tow. Look at that 4-wide racing nearly going on. Tortello getting off to a mighty start. He's going to sweep around the outside through 1, going to hold on to the inside into turn number 2. Will he be able to get the dream start and jump up to the front? He will. Tortello now in P1.
Wow, what a great start from Tor there, being able to take that from 5th to 1st right away. Just a wall of cars going into T1 and T2 and T3 for that matter. We are 3-4 wide everywhere, and again, this track being so wide and so flowy, you're able to get away with it. So we're probably going to see quite a bit of that out there today, I think. Guido Marzucchi having a look up the inside here of Andrew Love, going to run a little bit wide there. So everybody's pretty copacetic so far. Nobody getting too squirmy out there, and hopefully we can keep it that way. But super clean so far with this start run.
Yeah, a very smooth start here at Phillip Island. They made their way through Honda Bend as efficiently as they could have, but now as they're building up the speed through the middle sector through 7 into 8, seeing a black flag for Jason Grider. He won in Spec 2 last time at Montreal. Not going to get the repeat as he will have to come in to serve that. Not sure what that may have been. Potentially a start violation, although I will have to try and look through to figure out what exactly the deal was for him. He's down in 15th, going to drop down and lose out on a boatload of place. It's a side-by-side battling. This is actually a trio of Weekend Warriors. That is actually just a group of Formula V Weekend Warriors admins. You got Jim Brewster and Michelle Lynn, Chief Steward Brian Sazinski, and Stevie Rice, series admin, right there behind him. PL11 as well.
That's a great shot, yeah.
Dirking it out with Curtin Nunez.
Yeah, that's a great shot of all the admins all lined up in a row behind Jim Brewster here. I may have to clip that later on. Pretty cool stuff to see them all racing here together, so nose to tail, and just so competitive out there, right? To be able to line up these races and be the admin and then get in here and race with everybody and be competitive. Just super fun stuff for sure. And this is a great track. I think it probably brings out a lot of the drivers. But we do have a bit of a lead change here. Darmatumi able to get around Tortello down that big, long drafting area on the track here. And I think we're going to see quite a bit of that back and forth here. It's going to be difficult, honestly, isn't it, Ron, to be able to sort that out back and forth, because there is going to be a lot of position change here, and you're going to have to be the kind of driver that allows that to happen. If you fight it too hard, I have a feeling we're going to have a big, big crash.
Yeah, and around here, even though it seems like you have a lot of real estate space that can run out quickly, and right as we were saying that, around the bumper cars through turn number 10, that was Chris Montgomery getting shown the door. Andy Middleton trying to desperately cling on to P3's Darmatumi and Tortello continue to duke it out for the top spot. Here's a fight with Montgomery and Sazinski. That was actually through turn number 4. I apologize for that. The problem is with turn 4 and turn 10, very similar in the sense of being the only tight hairpins around this racetrack, and they also are led in by a long sweeper. Here's turn 10 coming up, and we have to go through turn 9 first. Uphill, then downhill, then uphill, then downhill. A lot of elevation change through here, but Sazinski getting shown the door, gets overtaken by not just Montgomery, but now Alan DeGasse is looking to fight back as well. These racers have been playing with fire, but nobody has gotten their eyebrows seared off yet.
Yeah, and Toro was able to take the lead again there, I believe, through T10. Pretty good passing area there. You got a bit of a blind rise. It's kind of holding you to the left a little bit. You're kind of turning left, and then you go into a pretty hard right-hander as you're coming down the hill after there. And it's a pretty good opportunity to kind of sneak up on somebody really there and get on the brakes on their inside and maybe beat them to that right-hander. As we're seeing just a ton of jockeying for position down this straightaway here. Everybody in formation flying down there and trying to figure out exactly where they can be or where they can get by another car cleanly without clipping one of those big tires sticking out of these little spider, what would you call them, like water spiders almost, they look like from the air sometimes, and they're with their legs out. And man, you really don't want to clip one of those things because you'll end up upside down real fast.
Yeah, and these Formula Vs do have a little bit of janky physics around them, so a little bit of air time, and you're going to see Formula V do things that I don't think any species on planet Earth could do. Certainly any sort of machinery. 3 wide racing through turn number 4. I would say that you've got to be kidding me, but these are Formula Vs after all, so you can go 3 wide just about everywhere and get away with it rather scot-free. I think there's probably some alleyways in the darkest gullies of New York that you could probably go 3 wide in these FVs. Are just oh so tiny, oh so minuscule, and with the wheels sticking out a little bit, they do go together like puzzle pieces in a sense. The problem is the puzzle pieces are never still, they're always moving, and unlike puzzle pieces, maybe a little bit of odd contact there and a puzzle piece could get ripped. Here in a Formula V, you could rip off a wheel, ruin your race, and probably start off the Australian Air Force.
Perhaps, as we're looking at Brian Jasinski here in, I believe this is first place in S2. Yep, Martin Visser just behind him, about 4 seconds behind him actually. So I don't think he's under too much stress at the moment, and we'll have to keep an eye on that, see if he's actually pulling away or if Martin's catching on him. But up at the front here, we're still getting a back and forth. Andy Middleton now, Tortello up at the front are back and forth with each other, and there's just a wall of cars every lap here down the front straight run. I remember the last time we were here, it was quite the finish, if I remember correctly, and there was cars sliding sideways and up against the wall, trying to jump the wall on the end. Jim Brewster cutting a shape right between, I believe that was Marzucci. Was that no? It was Tor and Andy Middleton in front of him there. Just unbelievably slim margins there in between some of these cars up at the front. I am waiting for something to boil over here, but so far everybody doing really good. Is Jim Brewster again going to cut the nose off of the car behind him? I believe that was Tor. That was too close for comfort.
Yeah, with this being such a draft-heavy race, I feel like I gotta bring up the point that I always raise in a draft-heavy race in the V's, talking about the stages and the phases that these races tend to go through. We're in phase 1 right now. These racers are battling like there is no tomorrow, with the top 13 covered by just about nothing. Something's gotta break here soon. And again, that's not a diss on these racers. They are some of the best that I've ever gotten the opportunity to cover in my iRacing broadcasting career. They are quick, and a lot of them have some fantastic real-life pedigree too. But it's just a matter of the law of averages. You can't go side by side through every part of the racetrack, every single lap, and not have some sort of disaster break out. The universe will not allow it. Andy Middleton may lose out on some places here. He drops down to P5. Your pole sitter struggling to hold on to that spot currently as he's got Marzuki behind a massive train of cars right behind him. A fantastic front row seat of the battle for the lead at the moment here in the Masters category. It's Jim Brewster and Andrew Love. Brewster off the back of 2 straight wins here in this series, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Andrew Love, though, back in his rightful spot of the pole. He started from the pole in 4 of the first 6 races thus far this season in the Masters category. He's always a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a bunch of good drivers up at the front here, and it's kind of anybody's game, especially at this stage. We got two lines, basically, of cars going down side by side into almost every corner of the racetrack here, and we've kept it pretty clean. We're seeing some kind of wobbly driving out there, but for the most part, it's been really, really good formation flying here, and you're right. It's not that the drivers are bad. It's not that they don't have, tons of experience and have been there before, and that they don't know how to do this. It's that the law just, it just won't allow it. It's not going to allow cars to be this close to each other for this long in every corner without something happening at some point. Hopefully they can prove us wrong here, because so far they're doing really, really well, and you can tell that they're being very mindful of each other and not kind of jumping yet, right? There's no point in being too stiff yet. As long as you can stay in this pack of drivers, you kind of want to just flow around and maybe not show your hand quite yet. We still have a long ways to go. As this starts to get closer and closer and closer to the end of the race, you will start to see those steering wheels, those steering racks tighten up a little bit, and the lines get a bit tighter and a bit more progressive and so on. And we'll then we will probably start to see, hey, that's my line, and then you're going to get some contact from that point on. But so far, looking pretty good here, trying to figure out exactly where you want to place that car. It's actually pretty interesting to watch them try to figure it out.
Yeah, when racers get a bit rigid, that's when disaster breaks out. At the moment, though, these racers are feeling flexible enough whereby they're allowing the racers to say, okay, you can get this move done, but later on, I'm going to try and get that move done on you, and I'm probably going to be a bit more aggressive when I do it, too. These racers at the moment, they're taking it easy, taking it calm. They're handling this race with kit gloves, I think is probably the best way that I can sum it up, which is I think that's a winning strategy call at the end of this race. To finish first you have to finish, but these racers are nearly going 4 wide into turn number 1. Take it easy, boys. You can't do that at all. They nearly went for it, though, and Chris Montgomery, I think he picked, that wasn't even a 2-for-1 deal, 3-for-1 deal. I think that was a 5-for-1 deal and 1 straightaway.
Yeah, that was pretty cool looking for sure, and you can see just the professionalism of the driving, where everybody's kind of moving together. One car moves and the rest of them sort of move with it, and yeah, pretty cool stuff, man. And we are getting some jockeying for position. Chris Montgomery here taking the lead for the first time, as now Darman Toomey is going to slip by on the inside. So, allowing a little bit of back and forth is how this game is played. You want to make sure that you're not, like you're saying, not too stiff. Stiff driving is bad. You want to flow out there like water for sure. You want to make sure that you're, if everybody kind of ebb and flows one way, as we got Szynski, I believe, into the inside barrier on that one. Not going to be that's going to be our first kind of major incident there. We'll have to go back and have a look at this one, Ron.
Yeah, maybe a one-car incident, but the stacking up that followed it may break this field up a little bit, and that's what happened. Hit the inside curb, and bang, he's going to go finds one of the only tire barriers on the inside of turn 6. That's the killer with the curbs. They're designed for motorcycles, so you'd think that they are flat, but in an open wheel car, any curb is going to be lethal, and that's a raised one. Contact maybe made a bit with Alan DeGassis, but either way, a slice as Stasinski gonna get sent off into the barrier, and you know how I said that checking up may have resulted in catastrophe for the racers farther behind? Well, we have seen a breakup. We have seen a breakup with the top 6 driving away, and the pack farther behind that includes your poleman, Evandy Middleton. But forget the pack behind. This is formation flying if we have ever seen it.
Yeah, every lap here we are seeing some pretty awesome formation flying. This time, Andrew Love's going to lead them into T1. So everybody getting a chance to lead a lap and lead into T1 here. See how it's going to work out. It would be pretty funny if they're, if they're actually get in their inner monologue here that they're in there trying to get everybody to lead at least one lap. I would love it if that's what they were doing, but that's probably not what they're doing. But I believe there's only one driver in there who hasn't, or maybe two in this front group who hasn't led a lap, being Jim Brewster and maybe Guido Marzucci. So perhaps they can get up there and make that happen. And then if you have that on your bingo card, you can knock it off the bingo card for today. But yeah, lots of formation flying going out there. We have Tortello here up the inside of Andrew Love. Going to look for it. That was probably one of the more spicy moves we've seen in the front group, and that's not saying a whole lot because it wasn't really very spicy there. Kind of just let it happen as Andrew Love's going to take that one back now. So there is a bit of jockeying going on out front. Perhaps things are starting to stiffen up. We're almost halfway through the race here, not quite yet, but this is when you want to start thinking about, okay, who is going to be my partner for the end of this? Who can I draft? Who can I get behind that is going to result in me on a podium, and who do I need to stay away from so I don't end up in the rhubarb? And this is where you're going to start making those decisions for sure. Also, you're looking at this group of cars behind here that is probably just salivating at this whole thing, waiting for perhaps something to happen so that they can pounce on it. I noticed earlier there's just kind of a giant group of cars, and then Michelle Lynn was leading sort of the back, and she's just looking at everybody going, okay, well, just waiting to see if anybody opens up a gap here, and then I can shoot into it and go from there. But we do have a little bit of shaking up. Andy Middleton now back in 9th place in front of Michelle Lynn, so he slipped back quite a bit and didn't really see what happened to him. We'll see if we can't figure that out.
Yeah, so as that's going on, we nearly fan out to 3 wide.
Wow.
3 wide for sure. 5 wide nearly, and I think they were close to making it 4. They're nearly 4 wide hang out turn number 1. Something's got to break here soon. This is getting really antsy. What is going to happen here? Darme Toomey shoves his way up to the front. Tortello gets his way past Jim Brewster. Chris Montgomery and Andrew Love right in tow with Marzucchi, maybe saying, you know what, I may back out of this because this is getting a little bit froggy. And we were talking about the pack breaking up. Well, with all the battling that these front 6 have been doing, it's going to maybe bring in that group of cars right behind back into the midst. That is 2 by 2 racing right at the front, really 2 by 3 as they headed their way off through 4. Tolo now in the top spot, but everybody is at risk, and the gap has now disappeared. So Kurt Nunez and the rest of the field behind, they're back.
Yeah, definitely. They have caught up. So you're right, Ron. That definitely, all this jockeying for position at the front has been slow for sure. It's not as fast as this could end up being quite the colossal battle here in a lap or two if they don't sort this out as this other pack is beginning to catch them now. So we're going to have a pack of about 10 cars mid-race too, right when it starts to get froggy. Looking for a position, and we know, if these cars that are just catching up now, you feel like you kind of won the lottery a little bit, like you stole it, and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to make some decisions now. I'm going to make maybe some decisions I wouldn't make. I'm going to get a little bit closer, as it actually looks like we have lost some of that pack now. So something happened back there. Alan DeGassis, Nick Tullo also had a bit of an incident. Michelle Lynn went off track by the looks of it in avoidance, so we'll have to go back and have a look at that. But that pack that was catching up does seem to have kind of broken up a little bit now.
Yes, Alan DeGassis with a meatball flag. There had to have been some sort of drama, potentially through 10. We'll have to take a look at that soon. In the meantime, though, we have still got this hair-raising battling through turn 1. Chris Montgomery now at the front of the field. Jim Brewster and Darme Toomey side by side for the final 2 podium spots. And Tortello looking at involved in that as well. He just got a move done to jump his way up into P3. Now, considering this has been a draft-heavy race, and considering the chances of us having a photo finish are well above 0, we're probably going to have to talk about Tortello come time for the end.
Yeah, he always does seem to be there right at the right time, doesn't he? And he definitely has a knack for that, and that's going to come down to experience for sure. So, if I was a driver, I'd probably be staying pretty close to him. I'd be looking at what he's doing, try to kind of find a way to combat whatever move he's about to make. Or perhaps, if I was Jim Brewster or one of these other guys, I'd be trying to kind of plug him for the end of the race there so that he wasn't able to make that move, maybe. But yeah, let's see if we can't go back and see what happened to Alan DeGassis and Nick Tullo here. So we're going to get maybe it wasn't the same. Oh yeah, they're close to each other here. So let's get a chopper view, perhaps, or a blimp view, and see exactly what took place here. And I think Michelle Lynn's going to have to take some avoiding action. Oh, just a bit of an accordion going on there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Michelle not really checking up too much. It is a very blind entry heading off through there and trying to jam on the brakes in these Formula Vs is very difficult to do, but missed the marker a little bit there. Yeah, actually, I will say Michelle warned us before this broadcast got up and rolling. I think it was actually yesterday evening that she informed us about this. She won the Friday night draft party, so she was warning about a falling anvil. Falling anvil, she got four wide for the race lead. You have got to be kidding me. Jim Brewster, Tortolo, Chris Montgomery, and Darmay Toomey. Who's going to back out first? Well, it's none of them. It looks like Toomey is going to be the one shoved out first. Montgomery and Brewster are still side by side at the front with Marzuki and Tullo duking it out behind. And we saw that first breakup, and then we saw that second incident. So I gotta wonder what phase of the race we're in at this point. Are these racers gonna duke it out for the end, or is there some more drama that could go down? This is really getting nuts. We're seeing racers that are usually calm, just patient and tame, pretty much treating each other like wild animals. They're really going full wide into the braking zone at turn number 4.
Yeah, it is definitely starting to get a little stiffer out there. You saw a big block maneuver from Jim Brewster there, blocking Tortello. He had nowhere to go. It actually kind of surprised him by the looks of it. He got on the brakes a little bit and then did a little bit of a left and right wiggle, like, oh, I got nowhere to go here, and then stayed where he was. So pretty good defensive move from Jim Brewster to plug Tortello on that one. But we got Chris Montgomery up front, Guido Marzucci making a bit of a play for those top podium positions here today. So hopefully he can hold on to one of those. Tortello again looking up the inside of Jim Brewster, having absolutely none of it. He definitely is seeing Tortello in his rearview mirrors there and is having none of it. So like I was saying before, maybe the only way you can keep Tor behind you is to play games like that a little bit. You're going to have to get your shoulders out. Obviously, we don't want to see moves that are unfair or too late or anything. We haven't seen anything like that yet, but it is definitely getting more froggy, and you can see Tor now actually kind of maybe learning from that, and he's going to try perhaps a different route around Jim Brewster. Nope, he's going to go to the inside and get it done here. So we'll see how it goes. I have a feeling we may have a boil over point shortly, Ron.
Yeah, at this point, I feel like it's only a matter of time before it could be a tiny little mistake. It couldn't even be a mistake, maybe even just a small little miscue, and then the whole kitchen going up in flames. This is getting nuts. It's been nuts for quite some time. The nuts are gone. We have just lost every single thing at the present moment. Haven't lost a lot of racers, though. It's been rather tame considering how fantastic the racing has been. Haven't seen too many incidents.
Yep, sure has.
Although I will have to eat my words in case we do see some accidents take place here sooner rather than later. This is Andrew Love's perspective through the rush hour traffic. He's running in P5. You can tell it's a close battle up at the front when the P5 runner has a fantastic shot at, just jumping his way up into the race lead in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, one tiny mistake, one little oop on the brakes of all four of those cars, and poof, you're in first place because you're literally nose to tail with 5 cars in front of you, and they're definitely not lapping as quickly as they were before. I don't really think they're in much of a issue here getting caught by the cars behind them, but it's been a little difficult here to look at the rest of the race. There is a little bit of racing going on still behind this, but this is definitely where most of the racing is happening around Phillip Island today. We will try to touch on some of the other drivers here. Michelle Lynn actually wrapped in a bit of a battle here with Dan Trzynski, and I believe Andy Middleton is going to be way back here now, so having a pretty rough one for Andy Middleton as well. He was up at the front there leading at the beginning of this and has fallen behind quite a bit. I still haven't really found out exactly what happened to him. I'm going to have to go try and figure that out after this here. But and we have a spinner back there as well. But definitely the fight is up here for sure. This is where all the action is happening at the moment. Jim Brewster going to take the lead, and we are going to fan out. Looking 4 wide again. Tor wanted to make that 4 wide. Jim Brewster saying no.
Oh boy. Okay, I thought I was going to see Tortello go for the move on the curb here.
He's starting to get frustrated, I think.
Yeah, I feel like all these racers are kind of a little bit upset. You know, Jim Brewster and the Formula V Weekend Warriors admin crew always run a rather tight ship, an understandably tight ship, because in these Formula Vs, you can have really hair-raising action, and one small little miscue in terms of driving standards and gentleman's code can result in all hell breaking loose. So it's understandable why that is the case, but I feel like Tortello we're seeing more aggression out of him than we usually see. He nearly just went for a move on the grass in the inside into turn number 4. Now, I have a feeling that would have gone in the way that I think it would have gone in my head, and that would have been a game of Formula V bowling or pool or just sledding his way down into turn number 4 like bobsled.
Yeah, you know, I don't think we've seen Tortello looking for answers quite as much as we're seeing today, and you can see him searching there. There's a big question mark over the helmet of his car, going, which way should I go here? I'm going to go left. I'm going to go right. Nope, Jim's in my way. Nope, Chris is in my way. Nope, Guido's in my way. They're definitely turning the screws on Tor now, and they're kind of doing it. I wouldn't say as a group. They're not ganging up on him. I don't think that's not what I mean to say at all. But they've definitely got his number, and they're not going to make things easy. They know his moves. They kind of know what he's going to do. Maybe not know his moves, but they know when he's going to try to pounce. And it looks like they're trying to answer that, and it's good to see. It's good to see that there's some answers being sent back towards Tor now. It's going to make things a little more difficult for him, which I'm sure is just fun out there, right? He's looking for a way by, not finding it quite as easily. And yeah, we're going to go maybe again 4 wide here, as he's going to look as wide as he can on the inside. Montgomery wide as he can on the outside. We are 4 wide. I believe Tor's probably got the inside line here to be able to take this one into T1 as long as everybody sees it coming, and he is going to take the lead. So after all of those questions, Tor is going to answer with the lead into T1. Montgomery going to take that back pretty quickly by the looks of it, though.
Yeah, that's a thing. How long can you hold on to the race lead here? How long has anybody held on to the exact same spot for one period of time? I think it's probably been at most about 45 seconds. Everybody's been a hop, skipping, and jumping throughout the field, up and down the running order like Otis Elevator. We talk about these racers and how wild of a race it has been, but I won't give some love to them, because even though they've been bringing the aggression and the thunder, they've kept it clean for the most part. A couple of incidents every now and then, but we haven't seen cars on top of each other yet.
No, everybody's been super clean, and again, you know, this is what's so great about the Formula V and just the Ray Esports universe and the Weekend Warriors in general, is that you get to go out and drive with the same group of drivers week in and week out, and you might even get to, you know, this is the 3rd or 4th time all of these drivers have been at this track together in the last few years, at least the 2nd or 3rd time, and that's just, you know, you get the confidence. You're friends with everybody out there. You've been kind of bouncing ideas and setups and stuff off each other. You know how each other drive. And man, does it ever make for good racing. You know, one of the only sports out there that you need good people around you to really have fun. You need them to be fast, and you need them to be good. You need them to be safe, and you need them to be respectful of the way you drive and drive around you. And that's what you get in leagues like this. You're going to get that respect from the driver around you. Every once in a while, we all make mistakes, and we've seen them, but the respect we're seeing here between drivers to drive this close to each other lap after lap into T1 and not have an incident, as we're seeing it again here, is just fantastic. And man, it is so much fun, Ron. Oh, I think you might be muted there. We got Chris Montgomery having a look up the back of Jim Brewster here. Didn't quite make the move there that time. Guido Marzucci seems to be leading into T1 here. A couple laps in a row, Ron. So I think maybe, I mean, I would love to see Guido make one of these wins on one of these races on merit, and that he actually, you know, like, he actually took that stab out to the front and then held it and made it work for him. So we'll see how that works out. It's not going to be easy, because any one of these drivers could take the win.
Yeah, Guido, who's always been able to run well at VIR. I think there are maybe some comparisons that he could potentially give here. Certainly a very draft-heavy run to the end. Got some draft maestros up at the front. I remember one of the first broadcasts we did together, Josh, here of the Formula V Weekend Warriors way back in Season 4 of 2024. It was Jim Brewster and Tortolo that gave us a fantastic photo finish at VIR, but flashing my mind back to just one season ago here in the FVs, it was Andrew Love, who at that point was still running in Spec 2, who grabbed an overall race win, just mastering the draft, timing the run to perfection. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with as we get to the end of this race as well. Speaking of, time is running out. 3 minutes left on the clock, so I believe this is going to be 2 to go this time by. We'll have to see how the runs work out when they get that 2 to go, because this will be a sign. We see Jim Brewster running in that top spot, but Guido's going to have the run on the outside of Chris Montgomery. Montgomery going to now have Tortolo on the inside of him. This is going to get really tense. Tor's been putting his nose in places where it probably shouldn't go. He's going to go off the grass. Jim Brewster's going to say nope as they go 4 wide once again. Darmay Toomey sneaking it to be 4 wide. I genuinely don't know who would have won if that was a checkered flag.
Guys, we're going in about 3 different spots there. Me either, Ron. I'm not really sure what would have happened there, but we are definitely stiffening up a little bit. And you're right. I haven't seen Tor be quite so aggressive before, and it looks to me as if the competitors out there sort of are trying as hard as they can to keep him behind them now. So they're not giving him an easy time out there. They're making it 4 wide before he has a chance to get there. They're using up the track so he doesn't have anywhere to go. And that's kind of maybe what you have to do to such a strong driver. You can see him out there just looking for a place to get by. And he's just seeing shoulders everywhere. He's seeing shoulders and the rears of Formula V cars everywhere. He can't seem to get through it. So it's going to be pretty awesome if he does. He's able to squeeze one up before the end here. But we are getting very close to the end. 28 minutes left in a 30-minute race. You're thinking now, okay, how am I going to win this? How am I going to hold on to this position? Who do I need to have behind me? Who do I need to have in front of me? Where am I going to make my move? You know, and I think for me, usually at this stage, like I might have a plan, maybe, but most of the time I'm just trying to kind of let things come at me and see what happens. Try to monopolize on those opportunities if you have them, and don't dive at the ones that aren't going to work out is the main thing that I'm thinking right now. Don't crash. Even if I get 5th, 6th place, what you don't want to do is end up facing backwards at this point.
And as they're coming to the white flag, one more lap of racing action, about 3 miles here at Phillip Island. To touch on what I said this time 1 lap ago when we took that 2 to go, the top 5 were covered by less than a 1/10 of a second. Let's see how they are as they come across the line once more. This is going to get dicey. I don't have a good feeling about this. These racers have been scrapping for oh so long. That is pure unbridled madness. Something's got to snap here soon. Look at Tortolo trying to get the move done on the curb and on the grass. So close to contact, nearly making contact. They touch. That's Toomey. Andrew Love up in the air. That's Jim Brewster getting a piece of the action along with Kirk Nunez. And then there were only 3. I think the only drivers that got away with that were Chris Montgomery and Guido Marzucchi in P1 and P2. And somehow, despite the fact that he's been the man on a mission, running as aggressively as he could be throughout this race, Tortolo may have a fair shot of winning this race. We talk about him being the photo finish maestro, being there in the right place at the right time. He wasn't there, and thankfully for him, he wasn't in the air like Andrew Love was. Now it's Marzucchi and Montgomery battling it out for the top spot. They swap places. Marzucchi leads it as they head their way through the apex of turn number 6. But that's not the spot to be in. I would not want to be where Guido's at. Darmay Toomey got to pick up a black flag, so his P4 start that he's in at the moment, the P4 place that he is in at the moment, I can't even speak. That's going to turn to naught. He's going to get sent back to the back of the pack, probably 21st for him by the very end. Still have some battling with Andrew Love, and this time with Gary Kittle and Brian Hansen. But this is a fight that we're going to be keeping our eyes on come time for the very end. Guido Marzucchi, who we run on board with, heading his way off through turn number 10 for the final time, but he runs wide. That's not going to help out his cause one bit. It's going to be Chris Montgomery right in tow, getting the run, but Tortolo getting the slipstream of a lifetime Here they go through the final
Oh,
turn.
boy.
Tolo cutting it off into the grass. Who's going to win at this race? This is going to be close. This is going to be sketchy. I think it may come the way of Guido at the end of it. He's closing up that gap. He's really
My
good. Look at
goodness.
Montgomery as well. 3 wide to the line.
I don't know.
Marzuki's going to win.
Marzuki gets it. Wow, what a great finish to a great race. And we got some people here as well. Stevie makes a 5th place and 1st in Masters, so great finish for him at the end here. We are trying to keep up with the rest of the racing. Really close finish here between, I believe that's Gary Kittle and Ken Poulin, also having a very close race right to the end here. Alan DeGassis, Wayne Buttermore, Stephen Westcott, Nick Tullo, all also having very close races here. Impossible to keep up with all the action out there, especially on the last lap. It really seemed to tighten up a bunch there. We'll have to go back here and have a quick look at exactly what happened there at the end. I believe, if I can. Yeah, that was unfortunate there. Unfortunately, I believe it was Jim Brewster and Andrew Love who made a connection there and ended up spinning out off the track. We shall see. I'll see if I can't get a replay for you guys. But wow, what a finish, Ron.
I'm still trying to catch my breath after that, I'll be honest. I probably need to drink a whole bottle of WD-40 once this is said and done, because the amount of words that I had to spit out in a short period of time, that was ridiculous. Here's how Andrew Love's race finally ended. Already had damage on that car as a result of the incident through 1. This just wasn't going to work. You could see Jim, if I'm being honest, kind of cut down, at least from the look of it. Of course, Ray Stewart's will have another glance at it later on, but kind of looked like 2 drivers merging into one space out there on the racetrack, and obviously not out of, malintent or malice or anything of the sorts. They're going about 100 miles an hour, which may not seem like a lot, but in a Formula V, that is pretty much top speed. Oh, that was a wild trip. We nearly had 2 racers flipping at the same time. Andrew Love was briefly seeing nothing but the ground. And then we also had Kurt Nunez, who got flipped up on his side.
Yeah, it's unfortunate there that, it just looked like turned down a little bit onto Andrew Love there. Unfortunate. There's a bit of room on the inside of Andrew Love, but of course he doesn't have to relinquish that space. He doesn't have to, of course, but really close quarters, with the nose of the car and the side of the car. So it's kind of difficult sometimes to just read all that information around you. And unfortunately they made contact, and we are going to get our burn down here. I think this should be a pretty good shot. They did show me where it was. Wow. We got Guido Marzucci airborne, and see if we can't get a good shot. Again, these are difficult to hone in on sometimes. I only have so many cameras to choose from, but we can go back and have a quick look at that as well. But what an amazing finish. Wow.
Yeah, that was a wild one. The top 5 at the very end of this race, you can see the gaps between the racers, but between all 3 of them, it was 0.031 of a second, according to iRacing. That is absurd. That is absolutely ridiculous. I think that's probably the best way we can describe this racing here today. Just absolutely absurd. Let's see the absurd sight of a Formula V achieving low Earth orbit. Oh boy, let's follow Michelle. She was the last of this trio to pile in and hit the jump. And I think she had a wild ride in this.
Not too shabby. Oh, that gyro effect again. I love that. Oh, and a good little bounce as well. Very nice.
Yeah, dug straight into the gravel there. That had to have been a 14 quintillion G impact. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's too many safety features that could help you in a situation like that, but thankfully we are on iRacing, so you don't have to worry about that too much. Here's Wayne Buttermore lawn darting it into the gravel trap, and he's gonna...
Very nice.
I'm not sure. I think iRacing may have registered that as a ballpark. I'm not sure if he actually would have left and vaulted over the tire bundles, but we'll count it as such. iRacing said it was, and who are we to judge iRacing? Last time I was making jokes about iRacing, I was talking about the weather system, and all of a sudden my computer had a random blue screen. So we'll leave that be. I don't want the iRacing gods to come after me. But I think we're gonna have a chat with some of these racers who are
Yeah, let's do it. We do have some points as well to get to
excited.
that we should probably try to get through. You know what? Let's do points really quick, Ron. And before we get into that, we will quickly touch on the points that we missed. I'm going to see if I can't pull them up here. I've been having some issues with SDK, so if I can't get them up, I do apologize here. They are working on it, I know. We've been having some issues lately with it, but I think we can have a quick look at the points. So here's some S1 points currently.
Yeah, so this was entering this race, so they are
Correct.
a little bit out of date, but I think the point still remains, and Tortello's points gap is probably going to get expanded as a result of the incident with Darmade Toomey. It was marked as P4 come time for the very end, but I will let you know in confidence, folks, that come time for the end of this race, he got shuffled all the way back down to P19. So that gap is most certainly going to grow between those racers. As you can see, the drivers jumping there in the back of shot once more. Here's Jason Grider in Spec 2 over Stephen Westcott, Brian Hansen, Martin Visser, and Dan Szynski, who I believe walked away with the Spec 2 win. Didn't even talk about that in this race. We had more, not more pressing matters up on the front, but some action up at the front that I feel like we would have been fools to avoid. Jim Brewster leads it in the Masters category, making today's broadcast here on SMB possible with 5 points between himself and Andrew Love. Really close championship fight over there, probably one of the closest in Weekend Warriors competition. But let's get the interviews up and rolling. I'm going to make good on what we were meant to do before the start of this race. I will apologize to Jim Brewster before we drag him into the broadcast booth for not touching on him before we grab the green flag. But let's talk to the man who made today's broadcast possible. Jim, welcome into the booth. I'm not sure if there are any superlatives to describe the other race that we saw. Yeah, that was
best race ever. Just say it. It's the best race ever.
It was a good one. It was a darn good one.
Okay, now I want to tell you how talented these racers are that we can put together that kind of theater, and set it all up just so Stevie gets the Masters win. You know?
There you go.
Difficult.
That was planned, was it?
So if you look, it's a big giant netcode between Andrew and I going into turn one, and it kicks me off at about a 10-15 degree angle, and then we make formal contact. But the first touch that kicks me off at an angle that starts off that whole mess is a giant 10-12 inch netcode. His front wheel to my back wheel, and we are nowhere near touching. And then after he kicks me sideways, then we do touch, and then the whole thing, we got Darmade and Kurt and everybody. But hey, that was so much fun. So, by the way, today's sponsor, Save the Manuals. I'm sick and tired of the question, can you drive a manual? The question is, do you drive a manual? For those of us that drive 3-pedal cars, anything with less than 3 pedals, you're merely a passenger.
You know,
I wish I could still drive one. I wish.
See, I have no room to judge, considering that even in my shifter cart, we had a clutch paddle, but not a clutch pedal, and my 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass is an auto, so I have absolutely no grounds to stand. I will say though, talking about shifting, even though I didn't have 3 pedals, I only had 2. Some of the most satisfying feelings I've ever had behind the wheel, either in the sim or in real life, are banging gears, either in the shifter cart when I was running in the autocrosses, or just heeling and towing, either in a Lotus 79 or whatever old kind of car you want on iRacing. Yeah. There's no more satisfying feeling.
Okay, now I'm going to tell you the real truth. I've never touched a clutch pedal in iRacing. I touch it in my street cars, but I've never touched one in iRacing. Anyway, great race. Everybody did really, really, really good job. I mean, we were passing everywhere. I'm sure you saw we were making passes everywhere. And just thanks to everybody. That was a lot of fun. And I'm going to let you go. Please go talk to Tam. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to share this video with everybody I know, because to me, that's what this whole racing thing is about.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
Prayers for all those people in Minneapolis and their stuff. And please keep watching the news. And we'll see you next week, guys, at Summit Point, which will be almost as crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one, and we're in the midst of some big draft-heavy races, so Summit Point, I don't think is going to be a source of calm for you racers out there on the track. Thanks for joining us, and
thanks for
that's going to be
guys.
wild.
See you next week, guys.
Yeah, see there, Jim. That right there was Jim Brewster, our P2 finisher in the Masters category at the end of this race. Didn't even talk about Stevie winning it in the Masters. That shows you how wild things got at the very end. But Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat. Who do you want to talk to?
Yeah, maybe we'll pull Guido in here for the win here, the overall win Guido took today. What an amazing race. Guido, you got a win, and it was really on merit today, man. There was some jockeying for position out there. There was back and forth. That was not an easy one, I don't think, for you, was it? How did you make that work?
What are you insinuating? That the one at VAR wasn't on merit?
No, of course not. I would never insinuate such a thing. But this one, though, really definitely a gunfight out there for sure.
Yeah, this was absolutely the best race I've raced so far in this league.
Excellent.
By far, it was an hectic race. It was a very big pack up front. This track on this track is really difficult to. It's impossible to break away. So usually there is a huge pack until something big happens, and you create a gap because someone crashes or makes a mistake and slow down the cars behind. And that's what happened today. We were, I think, 20 cars on the lead pack until I don't know what happened behind a minor incident. So we were seven cars on the lead pack, and it was hectic. It was really hectic because we were fighting. We were absolutely not working together up front. We were fighting for track position every single corner, but it was very clean and very respectful. And it's one of the plus of this league, because people race respectfully to the others, so you can have wonderful races like this one. I've been lucky. I admit that I've been lucky because I made a mistake. The one mistake that I made today was on the last hairpin, entering the last main straight, the main straight for the last time. I went wide. I exited very slow from there. So my thought at that point was, okay, I freaked up. I can say freaked up.
Sure.
And okay, it's gone. And then I had Chris Montgomery, which is a very fast driver, on my right, and the Alien Thor, which I don't know. I have to watch the replay because I don't know where he found the space to sneak on the inside. And at that point, I said, okay, my only chance is to let him slip through, take his draft again, and then with the side draft try to beat him at the photo finish, which is something that it's almost impossible to beat Thor at the photo finish. It worked. I am really happy because it was completely unexpected. I don't like this track very much. But I had a good qualifying, started P3, it wasn't the lead pack, no drama, no incidents, very clean race, and by the end when the big crash happened behind, and we were left just 3 cars. At that point I said, okay, I can do it. I can try to win this race at this point, and it worked. I'm really happy.
It sure did. Yeah, we could see out there, you're definitely, obviously we've seen sort of your rise in the last little while with the speed that you've been able to put, but it seems lately like you're a little bit more confident with making those moves and cutting in front of your competitors and going 3 wide. And today especially, we saw some pretty spicy moves out of you, and it really paid off, Guido. So that was a great race from you. Even though you don't like this place, it seemed to work out for you. I believe we're headed to Summit Point next week, which is basically like a small version of this track, really. It's kind of like a tighter version of Phillip Island. Do you like Summit Point? We always seem to get pretty good races around there.
I love Summit Point. It's another track where it's difficult to break away from the cars behind, and it's another track where you really don't want to exit the last corner in front because you're pretty much a sitting duck at that point. But it's not as wide as this track. This track is so wide that you can have multiple lines, so you can defend on the inside, on the outside, and you can go 3 wide pretty much every corner. Summit Point is not like this. Summit Point is very tight, and usually there is a bit more drama because there is much less space than here. But unfortunately, next week it's very probable that I won't be part of the race because I have something else already arranged by a long time now. So probably I won't be part of the race next week. I'll be back at VIR, trying to double back at my very track.
There we go. Yep, VIR, another one of my favorite tracks, that's for sure. But excellent driving out there today, Guido. We've really, in the last season, always had some speed here, but you're really able to convert that speed into wins and into podiums and stuff this season, and we love to see it, man. So is there anybody you'd like to thank out there before we let you go? Absolutely, man. Love to see it.
As usual, the admins, Stevie, which was in the race today, and I think he got the Masters win, I think.
Yep, he did. Yep.
Yeah, and then Michelle and Jim. Jim was also the sponsor of this race, so double shout out to him. And as usual, Team Ginetto, they had a karting race today, which I didn't attend because I wanted to be all rested and ready for this race. They had a good result, and so shout out to them. I don't know if they watched the race. They are having dinner now at a restaurant. I don't know if they watch the race live or they will watch later, but shout out to them. Forza Team Ginetto.
Awesome. Some great shout outs there for sure, Guido, and great race win today. We will catch you next week at Summit Point.
Yeah, and for the viewers, we will catch up tomorrow for the SRF.
Yes, the SRFs at a very cool track, actually. I've been practicing all week. Not an easy track, Aragon, but that is going to provide some racing in the SRFs tomorrow. It's going to be a wild one.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything.
Right on, Guido. Have a good one, man. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And that right there was Guido Marzuki, time of that to see that finish at the end. That was absolutely awesome. But let's have a chat with the man who had a under the radar drive, probably a great result. But we didn't really see anybody outside of the top of the pack. But Dan Szynski now joining us here in the booth. Dan, I'm gonna have to ask you this, not only because I want to know it from your side, but I want to know just generally, how was your race? Everything was going on up in the front. Our cameras were basically locked on the battle for the lead all throughout.
Yeah, not too shabby for the Walmart generic brand of Szynski racers for top 5 today. I was like the whole race, I was just at the back of the pack. So like end of lap 1, I was 14th, but I was the end of that front pack, and then I just kept staying there. It's like, I know I'm first in S2. I'm happy kind of sitting here, and just I was picking up spots and, moving forward with Michelle at the end, the last, 6 or 7 laps. And then all of a sudden, the last 2 laps was just carnage and carnage. It's like, oh, there's 5 spots this lap. So it was a lot of fun. This is a fun track in general, but yeah, this was a good race.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is probably one of the other, stronger draft tracks. Well, maybe the only one that drivers leave and aren't completely PO'd about the racing and everything. It sometimes happens at Summit Point that we'll be heading to next week, but I feel like overall everybody was happy. Even Jim Brewster got caught up in some drama at the end of the race. I was expecting him to be a little bit upset, but he seemed to be quite pleased. I think everybody was a little bit happy, even if there was maybe a couple of migraine-inducing bits of drama throughout.
Yeah, it's technical enough that it's not like Lime Rock where it's just pedal to the metal the whole time. So you have spots where you can, even if you're fast, you have to be good, and you know it's not all just about being in the draft. This is a good track, especially for the V's, of just kind of putting yourself in the right spot, and good things will happen. And you know, stay out of trouble.
Yeah. Keeping it clean and green to the end, and you could very well walk away with a W, and you're able to do that here today. Awesome job from you, Dan. And next time out, Summit Point, gonna have another draft-heavy race. So what are your thoughts heading there to West Virginia next time out?
I love the track. I just don't have success there. It's just one of those that it doesn't click because everybody's so good at it, if that makes sense. It just, yeah, it's so used that I don't have a lot to do with it. So I always look forward to that race, but yeah, I don't expect great things from me next week. But hey, you know, if you go in with low expectations, you're bound to be surprised.
Hey man, that's something that I've lived my entire life by, so I can get down with that phrase 100% for that next race in 1 week's time. But Dan, as per usual, I'd like to give any thanks or shout outs before we let you go and celebrate.
Big thanks to my, you know, and love to my wife and son, who will be a year old in a couple weeks. And shout out to Brian and my dad and the rest of the family, Michelle, Jim, all them that, you know, Stevie that put on the race. And huge congrats to Stevie and Guido today. But thanks to everybody that puts on the league, you guys for the broadcast. This will be a good one to rewatch, that's for sure. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, it was so action-packed that my tongue got wrapped around my teeth about 17 times. I'm probably going to need to drink a whole gallon of WD-40 to get untied. But Dan, thanks for joining us. Happy early birthday to Low Baby Liam, and we'll see you next time at Summit Points.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And that right there was Dan Szynski joining us here in the broadcast booth. Josh, that was about as wild as a Formula V race gets.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best V races we've had in a long time for a number of reasons too, right? We've had some really, really good races, but that was super clean. It was super tight pretty much the whole race there. You had 4 or 5 wide almost every lap. And we got, you know, Guido, our in-house producer here, our SMB colleague, took a win today. So not too shabby out there for sure. Love coming to Phillip Island every time. I think the drivers really, really enjoy it too. And we got to thank Jim Brewster for today's sponsor as well. Unfortunately, falling to a bit of misfortune there with a bit of netcode at the end. What a bummer.
Yeah, those falling anvils can be a little bit brutal, and unfortunately they were brutal for him, but that's just the way that the cookie crumbles here in these races. Well, take a look at the results before we fully wrap things up here, as we took a look at the championship standings a little bit earlier on. At the end of it all is Guido Marzucchi grabbing the W, only about 0.03 of a second separating the entirety of the top 3. And look at that gap between Tortello in second and Chris Montgomery in third. That is insane stuff. Stevie Ray finishes in 4th with Dan Szynski, rounding out your top 5. Michelle Lynn in P6, Jim Brewster in 7th, Gary Kittle in P8, Ken Poulin in 9th, Brian Hansen rounds out your top 10 with Jason Grider, Justin Huffman, Alan DeGassis, Wayne Baltimore, Stephen Westcott, Nick Tallow, Kurt Nunez, Andrew Love, rounding out your top 18 with Darnay Toomey, Gary Thompson, Andy Middleton, Martin Visser, Brian Szynski, Russ Telker, and Brett Thompson completing your 25 drivers that actually took the start here. In round number 6 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here at Phillip Island, we are expecting some drama, and drama we got, but we've still got a lot of racing to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Got you covered week in and week out. Of course, as Guido said in his interview a few moments ago, in about 24 hours time, you'll be able to catch round number 6 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors on another motorcycle-oriented track in the form of Motorland Aragon. And then XSLR is going to be back later on that night with the start of the Formula 3s, the final group of 4 races from XSLR in season number 10. That'll be at Road Atlanta. Hope to see you all there. America Muscle Series is going to be returning for the 3rd round of their championship at Most Sport this upcoming Tuesday, followed by SRGF4 a little bit later on that evening at 10:20 p.m. Eastern Time at Brudskogen. SRGF3 will be at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, and Formula V's next time out will be at Summit Point, along with Oschersleben being the site of round number 7 of the Spec Racer Forts. And kicking off the month of February, February here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. A lot of stuff to look forward to. Gives you the reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of it. But for myself, Ron Maunz, and Mr. Joshua Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's show, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.